In the Hall of Fame of dinosaurs, the Tyrannosaurus rex stands alone. It is the king, the ultimate celebrity. But for the last 30 years, there's been a rumor in the scientific community, a whisper that suggests the king might not have ruled alone. There's a skeleton in the closet, quite literally. In 1942, a strange skull was found in Montana. It looked like a T-Rex, but it was different. It was smaller, sleeker, more elegant. At first, scientists called it Gorgosaurus. Then, in 1988, a team led by Robert Bakker re-examined it and declared it a new species. They named it Nanotyrannus, Lanson says, the Pygmy Tyrant. For a moment, the world thought we had found a new, agile cousin of the T-Rex. But then the hammer fell. In 1999, a prominent theory emerged that tried to erase Nanotyrannus from existence. Paleontologists argued, there is no such thing as a Pygmy Tyrant. This is just a baby T-Rex. The idea was that dinosaurs changed shape drastically as they grew up in ontogeny. The sleek, fast Nanotyrannus was just a clumsy, teenage Tyrannosaurus going through a growth spurt. For decades, Nanotyrannus was stripped of its name. It was labeled a juvenile. It became the greatest imposter in history, a species that science decided didn't exist. But the bones tell a different story. Recent discoveries, including the legendary dueling dinosaurs fossil and a groundbreaking study published in 2024, have brought this ghost back to life. The evidence suggests we have been wrong for a generation. This wasn't a prince waiting to be king. This was a rival king in this video. We're going to reopen the coldest case in paleontology. We will look at the microscopic evidence hidden inside the bones, analyze the secret weapons that made this predator unique, and finally give the Pygmy Tyrant the respect it has fought 66 million years to earn. To solve this mystery, we can't just look at the shape of the bones. We have to look inside them. The central argument of the baby T-Rex theory is simple. If Nanotyrannus is just a juvenile, then the fossils we have found should be young animals. They should be in the middle of a massive growth spurt. A teenage T-Rex would be growing like a weed. It's packing on kilograms every single day to reach that 8-ton adult size. So how do we check? We use a technique called osteohistology. Scientists physically cut into the fossilized bone and look at it under a microscope. Just like a tree, dinosaur bones have growth rings. We call them lines of arrested growth lags. Each line represents a year of life. If the lines are far apart, the animal is growing fast. If the lines are packed tight together, the growth is slowing down. The animal is reaching adulthood. For years, access to the best specimens was restricted. But recently, researchers like Dr. Nick Longrich and Evan Cheetah finally got to analyze the key specimens, including the famous Jane and the controversial dueling dinosaurs specimen. What they found was the smoking gun. When they looked at the femur and tibia of these so-called baby T-Rexes, they didn't see the rapid, explosive growth of a teenager. They saw tightly packed lines. The growth rings on the outside of the bone were getting closer and closer together. This tells us something definitive. The animal's growth was plateauing. It was stopping. These were not rapidly growing children. They were young adults. Based on the rings, the specimen known as Jane was about 13 to 15 years old. Now here's the problem. A 13-year-old T-Rex should be entering its exponential growth phase. It should be getting huge. But Jane and the other Nanotyrannus specimens were only about 900 to 1,500 kilograms. That is big, but it is nowhere near the 8,000 kilogram size of an adult T-Rex. If these were T-Rexes, they were biologically stunted. But if they are a separate species, the math works perfectly. Nanotyrannus was simply a medium-sized predator that hit its maximum size early. Furthermore, a separate fossil of a true juvenile T-Rex was found. And guess what? It didn't look like a Nanotyrannus. The true baby T-Rex had different proportions. It already showed signs of the deep, robust skull of its parents. This implies that Nanotyrannus wasn't a phase of life. It was a distinct biological entity. The imposter wasn't faking it. The rings prove that Nanotyrannus lived fast, grew up, stayed small while the T-Rex kept growing into a monster. If the microscopic rings confirm the age, the anatomy confirms the lifestyle. For a long time, people said, Nanotyrannus just looks like a skinny T-Rex. But when you stop squinting and start measuring, you realize they're designed for two completely different wars. Let's start with the most famous joke in the dinosaur world, the arms. We all know T-Rex arms. They are tiny, vestigial, and arguably useless for hunting. But Nanotyrannus, it had weapons. The arms of a Nanotyrannus were significantly longer and more muscular relative to its body size. They possessed large, curved claws that were clearly functional. While a T-Rex mouth was the only weapon that mattered, Nanotyrannus could likely grapple. It could use its forelimbs to snag prey or hold on to a victim, something an adult T-Rex simply couldn't do. Next, look at the teeth. This is the most critical difference. An adult T-Rex has banana teeth. They are thick, round, and reinforced. They are not designed to slice. They are designed to crush. A T-Rex bites through bone, armor, and muscle indiscriminately. Nanotyrannus had steak knives. Its teeth were laterally compressed flat from the sides, sharp and serrated. These teeth would shatter if they hit a Triceratops bone. They were razor blades designed for slicing through soft flesh. This indicates a totally different killing style. The T-Rex was a sledgehammer. The Nanotyrannus was a scalpel. And finally, the speed. The Nanotyrannus anatomy screams agility. It had extremely long lower legs, tibia, and metatarsals, compared to its femur. In biomechanics, this ratio is a proxy for speed. An adult T-Rex was a power walker. It was efficient, but it couldn't run very fast, maybe 20 to 25 kilometers per hour, because its bones would shatter under its own weight. Nanotyrannus was light, pneumatic, and long-legged. Estimates suggest it could have been one of the fastest large theropods of its time, potentially reaching speeds capable of chasing down the fastest. Ornithomimids opening parenthesis, ostrich-dinosaurs closing parenthesis. To say a Nanotyrannus is a baby T-Rex is like saying a cheetah is a baby lion. Yes, they are both cats. Yes, they both eat meat. But one is built for brute force, dominance, and crushing power. The other is built for speed, precision, and agility. Evolution rarely creates a baby that is better at something than the adult. A baby T-Rex shouldn't be faster, have more teeth. Nano has approximately 15 to 17 teeth per jaw side. T-Rex has approximately 12 and have better arms than its parents, only to lose those advantages as it grows up. That's not how evolution usually works. The anatomy proves that Nanotyrannus wasn't waiting to become a T-Rex. It was already perfect at being itself, so if Nanotyrannus and T-Rex lived in the same place, Hell Creek, at the same time, how did they survive? In ecology, there's a rule called Gauss's law, competitive exclusion principle. It states that two species competing for the exact same resources cannot coexist. One will drive the other to extinction. If Nanotyrannus ate the same food as T-Rex, one of them should be dead. But they both thrived. The answer is niche partitioning. They divided the world between them. Imagine the Hell Creek ecosystem 66 million years ago. It was a dangerous place. The T-Rex is the heavyweight champion. It targets the tanks, hunts the Edmontosaurus duck-billed dinosaurs, and the Triceratops. These prey animals are slow, massive, and heavily defended. To kill them, you need the bone-crushing power of a T-Rex. You need to be an ambush predator that hits hard and ends the fight in one bite. Look around. There are other animals here. There are Pachycephalosaurus domeheads. There are the Silososaurs. There are fast-moving ornithomimids. An adult T-Rex cannot catch these. It is too heavy. It would be like a tank trying to chase a motorcycle. This is where Nanotyrannus ruled. The Nano was the cheetah of the Cretaceous. It targeted the mid-sized, agile prey, and the T-Rex was too slow to catch. It likely hunted in packs or pairs, though this is speculative, using its superior speed to run down victims over long distances, slashing at their flanks with those razor-sharp teeth until the prey bled out. This explains why they could live side by side. They weren't enemies. They were colleagues. The T-Rex took the night shift and the heavy lifting. The Nanotyrannus took the day shift and the high-speed chases. In fact, the existence of Nanotyrannus solves a big mystery. For a long time, paleontologists wondered why there were no medium-sized predators in the late Cretaceous. We had tiny raptors like Dakotaraptor and massive T-Rexes, but nothing in the middle. The baby T-Rex theory tried to fill that gap by saying the teenagers did the job. But restoring Nanotyrannus as a valid species fits the puzzle piece perfectly. The ecosystem did have a medium-sized predator. We just refused to call it by its true name. The story of Nanotyrannus is about more than just a name. It is a story about how science works. Science is not a book of absolute truths. It is a battlefield of ideas. For 30 years, the baby T-Rex hypothesis was the comfortable answer. It simplified things. It made the T-Rex even more impressive by claiming it dominated every niche from birth to death. But nature is rarely simple. Nature loves diversity. By accepting Nanotyrannus, we are acknowledging that the late Cretaceous was far more complex and vibrant than we thought. It wasn't just a kingdom of one tyrant. It was a dynamic world with different predators mastering different skills. The T-Rex was the king of power. The Nanotyrannus was the prince of speed. This discovery also vindicates the dueling dinosaurs fossil, one of the most spectacular finds in history, which features a Nanotyrannus and a Triceratops locked in combat. For years, this fossil was in limbo, its scientific value questioned because of the species debate. Now, it stands as the ultimate proof of a lost species. The greatest imposter has finally dropped the mask. It is no longer the shadow of a T-Rex. It is Nanotyrannus lancensis, a species that survived millions of years of brutal evolution and decades of scientific skepticism to finally reclaim its throne. And now, the debate turns to you. Are you convinced by the bone rings and the anatomy? Are you Team Nano? Or do you still believe the baby T-Rex theory holds water? Paleontology is changing every day, and I want to know your take. Leave your vote in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the identity politics of the prehistoric world, hit like and subscribe to Beyond the Apex. Stay curious, question the consensus, and I'll see you in the next discovery.